Alright guys, this is going to be a quick tutorial that covers two topics in Adobe Premiere. Number one is relinking media that may have come offline, and the other one is simply exporting your footage when you are done with your edit. So you can see I've opened up a project here, and before I do anything I get this warning that says link media. And basically what's happening is there's a path here that Adobe was using to basically have access to the folder where I was keeping these two clips. Now what I did to create this issue was I imported them directly from this folder, and then later I went in and cleaned up my media and actually put them into this video folder. So before they were in just the main folder for lesson 4 tutorial, but now they're in lesson 4 tutorial/video. And you can see right up here, if you look at this path, it says Crucial X6, that's my hard drive. Then there's the InDesign folder, then InDesign 2025 lesson files. And then inside there, there's lesson 4, and then there's the lesson 4 tutorial, which you see is the name of this one right here. But there wasn't any subfolder, meaning that they were just loose in this lesson 4 tutorial. One of the things I always teach my students is before you import your footage into your project, put it in its folders first and then import the entire video folder. But I didn't do that this time because I wanted to show you how this works. So basically it's not finding the footage. It's looking for it, but since I've moved it after importing it, it's not finding it. So it gives me a couple options down here. I can cancel and just go through the project without these video clips, and I'll get these big red media offline warnings, which I don't want to do. Or I can simply go to locate, and that's what I do want to do. Now this is a particularly easy situation because I know exactly where the media is. Occasionally, you know, things do get lost and I have to kind of go digging through my hard drives to find something. But in this case, I'm just going to hit locate. And you'll notice that it brings up this locator window. And if I open this up a little bit, you can see it's looking inside that lesson 4 tutorial folder. So it's basically starting the search where the footage last was. And you'll notice right down here it says display only exact names. So if I click this, it wouldn't show any clips in here other than ones that had the exact name of 7-17 is the name it's looking for. There's actually two of them. There's 1 through 7, and then there's 7-17, or 1 through 6. But either way, so since I know where these clips are and I know where they got moved to, I can select the video folder. And you can see, even though there's two clips in here, it's only showing the one it's looking for first. So I can select this and click OK. Now, you would think, well, then you'll have to select the second one, you know, after you finish this. But once it finds one, it's really good at finding the other ones automatically. So let's see if it reconnects both of them, even though I've only told it where one of them is. So if I click OK, and you can see they both got reconnected. There's the 7-17, and there's the 1 through 6. And no red warnings, nothing is missing. Now, just real quick, if for any reason it hadn't reconnected here, I could pick any clips that were still offline and right-click and choose Link Media. Unfortunately, that option's not coming up. Oh, it would be right there under More Actions. So again, if you ever have a media offline clip on your timeline, you can always just select that clip, go to Media Actions, and when you click Link Media, it'll open up that exact same window we were just looking at. Okay, now that we know how to handle that, and we know how to make sure that all of our media is in our timeline, the next thing we want to do is export our timeline. And one thing that I want you all to do, and I think is a good habit to get into, especially if you like to edit on your timeline like I do, is to come to the end of your clip where you're done. Now again, if you have more clips to the right, that's okay. But I put the playhead at the end of my clip and I hit the O key. And what that does is it creates a selection. It automatically sets, the beginning as the endpoint, so you don't have to create an endpoint unless you don't want to export the beginning, in which case I could, put it here and hit the I key, and now it's only going to export between these 2 points. But in this case, I want to export everything up to this point. So simply enough, open up your project, go down to your timeline, put the playhead where the last frame that you want to export is, and hit the O key to create an out point. Then we're going to go up to the upper left and we're going to click this export window. And first thing I'll point out is that this big window on the right is what we call our range. It's the range of what we're exporting. And you'll notice right down here it says range source in and out. So that's that in and out point that we just added. You could change this to entire source, which would essentially export your entire timeline. Or if you had a defined work area, or you could set it to custom. Quite honestly, I've never changed this ever to anything other than source in or out, but you might need to. As we come up over here, back up to the left, we're going to see 2 really important fields that we need to fill out. The first one is file name. Now this one is defaulting to chapter 4, 1 through 6, which in my case is fine. But if you want to give your export a specific name, this is where you would do it. And then location. Now, if you create your folders ahead of time the way I do, this is really easy because I have an exports folder in my project folder. So I'm just going to click on the blue text here where it says export, and that will open up this little kind of truncated window. If I hit this little drop down right here, that's going to give me a full-size window. And that's good because currently I don't want to export it into the project folder. That's just for the Premiere project. I want to export into the exports folder. So I need to go out one step. So I'm going to go to lesson 4 tutorial, and now I can see all my folders. And there's my exports folder right there. If you don't have an exports folder, you can click the new folder button and create one now. And that's fine to do as well. But I'm going to go ahead and select that exports folder. I'm happy with the title and hit save. And now the next question is, do I need to change the preset or the format? And in this case, I don't. This video is going to YouTube. So the preset match source adaptive high bitrate is going to be just fine. There are additional settings I could go for, but I want it to match the size of the source video. I want it to have the adaptive high bitrate. Everything else is just going to take away from that. And so in this case, I am perfectly happy with the default setting. In fact, 99% of the time, I'm happy with the default setting. And then we have format. H.264 is the codec. It's the algorithm that's going to be used to compress the video and convert it into a standalone MP4 clip. And I do have some other options in there, and you might look at H.265 and think, well, that's got to be better, but it actually isn't for what we're doing. I'm in fact not really certain of any situation where H.265 is that much better. It essentially will give you a smaller file size, but since this is going to YouTube, it's not that big of a deal, and it would also take longer to compress. So time is of the essence. So I'm just going to stick with H.264. There's a reason that it defaults to that. But one thing that's worth pointing out is if I just wanted to maybe export the music, I could always go down and export an MP3 file. Or if I was using like an animation that was going to go into another video that would get exported later, then I might choose to export something really high res, like, I don't know, let's see here. Maybe I would try to QuickTime and set it to ProRes, and that's going to do like a very small amount of compression. And I would only do that if I knew that it was going to get recompressed later. But again, in this case, let's not get complicated. H.264 is perfectly fine. And then all I have to do is come down to the lower right and hit export, and you'll see that the new version of Premiere on a Mac Mini seems to export pretty quickly. Okay, so you'll see we get this little blue warning down here. It's a notification, not a warning, telling us that the video has successfully exported. And if we dip over into that folder right now, we will see in our exports folder there is our video. It's 887 megabytes, and if I hit the space bar,
all right, guys, so we
there it
are
is.
Going to hop into chapter 4.
So that is how you export video out of Adobe Premiere, as well as relinking media that may have gone offline due to unplugging a hard drive or just simply moving a file after you've imported it into Premiere. Cool, hope that helps.